Hi everyone, and welcome back to my Build a City project. I decided to do a little bit of a voiceover for this particular episode. It's more of like a trial, I guess, just to see how I like voiceovers and how this goes. I'm not going to do live kind of gameplay commentary because in a way, this is kind of like a personal project of mine, and I do like to just play in silence and enjoy what I'm doing without having to comment on every little thing that I'm doing. So I thought I'd just come and do a post-gameplay commentary. So I've just introduced the family now. This is the Grovehurst family. I introduced the Sims. So we have Dale Grovehurst, we have Gwen Grovehurst, or Gwendolyn, and Mary Grovehurst, as well as their cat Scratcher, their horse Fair, yeah, I think Fair, and their dog Barrel. They're going to be responsible for providing the community with produce. So essentially setting up a farm, or a produce farm. So I'm just getting the family established here, setting things up. I'd already furnished it, so they're basically, it's very bare bones. I'm not using all the money that they have because I do need some reserve funds for them to kind of ensure the economy runs smoothly. You know, I don't want these Sims kind of going broke at any stage at this point in the game, because then it makes things very hard. So they've essentially just started off with the default amount of money that the game generates for them. Feeding the pets, and it's actually really handy for pets to be able to drink from the river, especially the dog and the cat, Barrel and Scratcher, because I don't have to get them food dishes, basically. And now they're off to meet the neighbours who you would have met in the previous episode. Gwen was the first one there, I'm pretty sure. I think I got Dale to ride Fair over here, and because his horse riding skill is quite low, he's really slow. Finally, Mary's showing up. I think that, yeah, there's Dale. I can't see Barrel anywhere. Pretty sure Barrel's on their way. I can't remember if Barrel's a boy or a girl at this stage. So this is what I'll do when I kind of introduce new families to the world here. I will have them introduce themselves to the other neighbours, or the other residents. Just locking in their wishes there. I will be using their points to purchase rewards and all that, especially the immune to heat and cold, just because it can be, when I was playtesting in this neighbourhood, it was quite challenging with the heat waves and not being able to cool the Sims down, and Mary being pelted by the hail there. But she ends up getting along quite well with Trapper. which is nice to see. The hail is quite loud. I think depending on how this voiceover goes, I will look at turning down the volume on the hail effects because it is quite loud. So here's Barrel, and I'm getting Barrel to socialize with Big Ears. Big Ears Huntington. Also getting the horses to get to know each other a little bit. Every family that starts out in this town will get a horse. At least one horse. I really do love all the interactions between the Sims and the animals in The Sims 3. Especially when it's between the different animals, like the dogs and the horses. They have pretty cute interactions together. Quite like the nuzzle interaction. Kids having a pillow fight. I'm just looking at what Mary wants to do. So she wants to find out Fowler's star sign, and I'm pretty sure that means that they have an attraction. You can just see that Mary behind the pie menu there, that Mary became friends with Trapper, which is nice. I did have to make some minor adjustments to the weather in Enra's Tempest because I just feel like it rains an unreasonable amount in the summertime. It certainly rains a lot in autumn and spring, and so I feel like Sims should at least get a break from it in the summer. Yeah, I don't think Fowler was interested in disclosing his star sign to her just then, to Gwen, so I will get her to try again. And with the edits that I'm doing, I'm essentially just cutting out a lot of the, I don't know, filler. I do want to keep these episodes relatively concise. The horse is digging up a lot of vegetables, so I'm getting the gardeners to pick them up. You would have noticed earlier I got Dale to pick up just a random potato next to the river that I think Brisk dug up when I was playing the Huntington family. And here I am sending them home. But not before having them collect some veggies or some mushrooms on the way home to start the garden. But to start with, because of their low gardening skill, there's not a lot that they can actually plant. So you can see here I'm placing down the potatoes, but I soon realized that you can't actually plant potatoes with no gardening skill. nor onions. So that was a bit disappointing. But, I mean, it does mean that they have some food to start off with, so, I mean, it's not all doom and gloom. I just realised that caption could have been a bit longer. Starting off with a mushroom farm. Even though it says it's full moon, I've turned off the full moon lighting. I don't really think it's appropriate for this world, so I won't be using it. Can't even plant the spotlight mushroom, so very limited right now. So I think it's basically the white cap mushrooms are the only mushrooms that I can plant right now, or the only vegetable that I can plant. Scratcher taking a while. Now this family here, it ends up being a plague of fleas. I cannot get rid of the fleas with this family, so they're just going to have to live with it because they don't have a bathtub right now. There's no water source or plumbing. I'm looking at getting a mod where Sims can get water from a well. And I will put that in, I think, maybe a bit later on down the track. I'm quite happy with them living off the river for any sort of water needs right now. I think Mary's tired and wanting to go to bed, but I will probably have, I'm going to have them eat before they go to bed. And I only realized recently, so when I initially did my playtesting of this world, I didn't realize that you could actually roast or cook harvestables and, you know, fish and meat on the fire pits. So when I found out you could do that, because initially what I was doing was I was having them have a fridge and having food that way. But as soon as I realized you could actually cook over the fire pits, you know, anything that you've got in your inventory, then I thought that was a much better way to play this kind of scenario. So yeah, that was a pleasant thing a pleasant surprise. Yeah, Mary was riding back on Fair, but it looks like Fair kicked her off. Too uncomfortable. And Fair just needs some, probably some food and some water. And to get that saddle off. In terms of random NPCs spawning, so I do have that happen kind of often. And that's just how the game works. There's certain NPCs you can turn off, and there's certain NPCs that you can't turn off. I do notice every now and then just random NPCs just hanging around at the park, so I have to delete them, and I've cut all of that out, all that footage when I'm, you know, hovering past the park and I notice there's just a group of random NPCs there, so I'll just go and total annihilate them all. But I haven't quite figured out how to stop the game from generating any NPCs. It seems that, you know, a few NPCs managed to slip through the cracks. Mary's going to go pee, and then she's going to go to bed. As are the rest of them, I assume. So every now and then you will hear just a random kind of slop noise or a plop noise, and for a while it took me to figure out what that was, and it's actually barrel throwing up often. Yeah, this is where I honestly, I love doing this. So all the animals need a drink, basically, and so what I do is I get them all to go to the river together. It's kind of like the animal time. They spend time together at the river, which I think is really nice. Yeah, Dale trying to sleep in his daughter's tent, but I do want him to sleep with his wife, so I get him to switch tents. The one irritating thing about using the fire pit, though, is for hunger, is that it doesn't gradually build their hunger, so it'll fill their hunger all the way up when they've finished their meal. And so if you have them do it when they're really hungry, they always complain about hunger when they've finished their meal and they're full. So the next day here, just getting them ready for the day, locking in some wishes, or checking the wishes out at least. Dale's watering their one mushroom, which is a bit ridiculous at the moment, but it is what it is. I mean, you got to start somewhere, even if it's with mushrooms. If you're wondering kind of the mod that I'm using, and there's a couple of mods actually that have featured quite heavily. I'm sending them out to collect some harvestables now. A couple of mods that have featured quite heavily in the footage so far, and that is the hunting mod that allows Sims to hunt small pets, raccoons, birds, that sort of thing, out in the world, and they get some sort of meat from them. Occasionally they can get cheese and eggs. And also the one with nature mod, and that allows Sims to kind of pee anywhere, use a water source to bathe in, and they can sleep anywhere. And also they have the option to just sit back and daydream, and I think that increases their fun and social need. So that's actually really handy. In my playtesting, I opted for having my Sims sleep outside initially, but it became quite challenging when it rained outside. They had no shelter and the rain kept waking them up, so there were some nights where the Sims weren't getting any sleep, and that was kind of unbearable to play because I had to wait for the rain to stop for the Sims to be able to sleep. And pretty much what they would do is if they were really tired, they'd just complain to me constantly about having low energy during a rainstorm. So I decided, you know what, and at that point I didn't actually consider tents. So I can be quite stupid sometimes, like I don't actually fully consider all the options that I have in the game. I'm just like, oh, I don't want them to have beds, and so they can just sleep outside on the ground, not even realizing that they have tents as an option in this game. So when I actually came to do my proper playthrough, I saw some tents, and I was like, you know what, I'll just give them tents. And it's made things so much easier. So Mary's gonna do some seed collecting here. Many of these she's not even going to be able to plant for a long time, and it looks like the parents are making out next to a rubbish pile.
Yeah, Lord.
Also with the tax system, I might talk about that a little bit later. I know there's a tax mod by Annie that allows a proper tax collection system to exist in the game. Haven't quite figured like I might need to do some play testing with that to see if it's something that I'm interested in, because at the moment I'm just doing a manual tax deduction, noting down how much I've deducted, and I'll be using that to fund initiatives for the town. So it is, and it seems in hindsight, I realised that the tax is quite steep. I've basically set it at 10% after each playthrough, which at this stage is about 4 days. I might look at halving that, but the reason why it's quite high at the moment is because there's only 2 families, and I do need some funds to kind of get things started and get some initiatives built. Probably one of the first things I'll do is put some more recreation things in the meeting grounds, the town meeting grounds, which I don't think I've shown it yet, but it does exist. There's just nothing to do there. I think there's like a seat or a bench. Got Gwen here, going to light the fire, get some breakfast started. She's going to have a potato for breakfast. And I'm just so excited to really just get right into this project. So I said in my description in the last video, in the comment description anyway, that essentially for a long while, at least, this town is going to be purely, it's going to be a pedestrian based town. So it's walkability is going to be very important, and I plan on, so for context, this is basically an edited version of the Riverview map, and it's largely the same as Riverview. I did flatten a lot of it and got rid of kind of, weird ridges and stuff. But my plan is to start with develop one side of the river first, and then once I get some roads and stuff, I'm at the point where I need roads, then I'll start developing the other side of the river. So again, the Sims today just got to be looking for some more seeds and stuff, and they will need some more food for tonight, so it'll be another mushroom hunt. Yeah, mushroom hunt's a top priority right now, because really it's the only kind of food that they can they can collect around the world and eat straight away. I mean, I could have them get meat, but I mean, that's not what this family is focused on, and of course Gwen and Mary are vegetarians. You can see here the Huntingtons, a few of them are hanging out at the park. So you do actually see the meeting ground today. You can see that there's not much there. Yeah, I can just see now that Gwen's got fleas, and honestly, like, I think at one stage all of them get fleas, and then eventually only one of the Sims and the animals has fleas, and then everyone just starts getting them again. So, and like, I think at one stage I was trying to quarantine the last pet or Sim that had fleas, and then someone else got it, and then I just gave up. So I was just like, screw it, they can just have fleas, I'll just deal with it. That might have been through my playtest actually, where I noticed that Sims were starting to get fleas a lot, and trying to quarantine. But I guess that's just the reality of living outside, things aren't going to go entirely smoothly, and you are going to get fleas, unfortunately, for days and days and days on end, which sounds horrible to me. So you can see here I'm getting Mary to plant a few more things. And I think initially I get Mary to focus on the gardening first, because what I'm trying to do here is have Mary, or have at least one of the Sims get to gardening level 1 so that they get the seeds, the bonus seeds that you get for leveling up in gardening, and then they can plant some decent produce. And so I didn't want to split the gardening up between 2 people, because then that process would take longer for me to get those bonus seeds. And I think at this point Gwen had the highest in the gardening skill. And yeah, Mary's been out all night looking for seeds. She finally comes home, and I think both of her parents are asleep. Yep. Brisk is asleep here too. Not Brisk, Fair, I should say. I have a habit of getting everyone's names wrong. Getting a morning drink for the animals. So this will fill up Scratcher and Barrel's hunger. I said that earlier. This just kind of demonstrates that. Good for Fair's thirst, and then sometimes, you know, because Fair kind of always gets to the river first, so I'll have Fair, you know, get a drink and then maybe do some grazing while the other animals are still getting their drinks. Then we're going to do some more peeing and eating. And checking out the garden here. I have to get Dale to get one of those potatoes because they're low on food, so he can just eat one of those potatoes. I'm sure they'll get more potatoes in the future, so I don't really need to be hoarding them at this stage. And the purpose of, I mean, I've explained it in the description, but I want this family to be self-sufficient purely on their gardening, and I want the other Sims in town to rely on the gardeners or the produce farmers for their produce. So they will, once I've got the market established, and the market will be at the town centre. Once the market's established, I won't have to worry so much about Sims having to produce food themselves. They can, you know, buy and swap and do all that fun stuff. Here comes Barrel back from the river in the background there. Not quite fully rendered. I feel like the dogs all look like greyhounds almost when, you know, the level of detail when they're really far away. They look really skinny. More bathing in the river. And then more harvesting. Or more harvesting, more collecting. So I have them swim over to the island, and this is the first time that anyone actually goes to the island to look for some harvestables. I must say, in my playtesting, I initially had the families spread all throughout the world, and routing was just a nightmare because they route through the river, so they will swim if they wanted to get across the river, but they didn't follow the most logical routes. So sometimes instead of swimming across the river, they would swim up and down the river, and that would take forever. So then I decided that I would have them all the families established on one side of the river only, and then I will develop the other side of the river once I have a road network. And Gwen's heading home. But poor Mary, she's going to be home so late. So I've got her on one side of the island, and I had her on one side of the island, and then I had her go to the other side, I think, and then yeah, I think I just clicked the go home button and she started swimming up the river rather than across it. So yeah, it takes her a long time to get home.
Oh, oh. Oh, 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 oh. Tujanja, Otamina, Buchi, Nawabi Sonu, Kombuchan.
And yeah, anytime they want to woohoo with their partner, it'll be a try for baby. And she gets home at 2 a.m., yeah, after a whole night out looking for shrooms. Poor girl. So the next morning, and we're at day 8 now. Pile of vomit next to the fire pit there.
A movie.
I'll let Mary sleep in this morning given her late night mushroom hunting antics. think that's a raccoon in the background. I was checking to see if it was a stray cat, but I figured, nah, that looks like a raccoon. If it was a stray cat, I would get rid of it. The strays do tend to be quite annoying. It would be cool if they just kind of wandered around the world, and sometimes they do just wander around the world, but a lot of the time they will hang around the active lot, and if there's a few of them, then the lot gets really crowded.
Whippy Tongo!
Emopi. What? Oh!
So Dale found a pecan seed and Mary found a walnut seed, so that's handy because they can actually plant them with a low gardening skill, or no gardening skill at all. I actually just noticing now that the cell phone icons is the old cell phone, and basically what that is from is a mod that disables cell phone use, and then as I guess the side effect of that is the icon for the cell phones reverts back to the, I think, the pre-university life cell phone icon, but it's non-interactable. You can't even, like, if you click on the icon, nothing happens. Because I absolutely did not want cell phone usage. So Dale did that planting, and then I realized, nope, I actually want Mary to do the gardening to get her skill up. So I distracted Dale and get him to play with the fire.
Uh-huh.
La la. Mm-hmm. La la. Mm-hmm. 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 La la.
What you're going to see in a minute is an issue I have with the seeds from the Bohemian fruits and nuts set, I believe it is, from the store. So I don't use them for now. I've done some research on this, and there's a couple of things I need to do to try and fix it. It is a legitimate copy of the store set, so I have purchased it. I know there can be issues if you use alternative copies of store content, but it's quite confusing because this is a legit copy, so I'm surprised that I'm having this issue. But I did some research, and you can still have issues with store content like this. Basically, I need to kind of regenerate, I think it's my CC merged file. That's one of the steps that I need to take to try and fix it, but it's kind of annoying at the moment. I really can't be bothered at doing any troubleshooting, but I guess it needs to be done if I want to be able to use these seeds.
Okay.
And I think Gwen just rejected a woohoo
Sita?
with Dale.
Mati smart.
Yeah, she did. And I'm pretty sure it's because Mary is right next to them. So what I do is I go and distract Mary with something. Get her to do something else. Get her away from the tent so the parents can get down to business. Yeah, I can see some harvestables there. So Mary can go and do that. Get her away from the parents for a bit. And finally they can get on with their woohoo.
Aga banana inko tapa.
This was a bit tedious. Neither of them wanted to stay in the tent, but then Dale just called Gwen over to get down to business. And yeah, I guess Mary being over there, or being away from the tent, helps them, so they happily got down with their woohoo.
Dilo? Ushru.
Zal aber na wood, na wigs. Soon it's Dunor? Sweet! Tumbalimbazak. Later. Rula cho. Amba nisni. Tubaro? Never? Tumbaloo. Tanaka Malu. Lay.
Fubi. Ooh, Yasuni. Ooh. Fubi. Oh, Ravupi. Ooh, Sujnib. Kiwi. Sarduli lem. Yeah, Slord. Stool.
Vandia Glorn.
Maybe. Ab Kobina Shasha.
Nanaba.
Wognischplatz. Upsikurna.
Knuckle tib.
Slorg.
Nita stat. Knuckle tib.
Ah, aha. Aha. Stubby Tuhonk. Skij Vada V.
Dweeper.
Oh, Nusamat. Oh, Vasal. Nibiwat G. Okay. Benzi Chibna Lubo. Barzebni Gwel.
You're
Hoeveel meer? Almost op.
Yeah. Milwaukee.
Ja. Nugla. Beezer. Ibitish.
Mamu! Ka!
So this is pretty much wrapping up the first round with the Grow First family, our produce farmers. So we will see them a couple more times before we introduce another family to the world. Quite pleased with their progress so far. So they have a small garden established. And I think by the end of their second round, they will have a nice set of crops to start supplying the town with produce, fruit, vegetables, nuts, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I will finish the commentary here. So thanks very much for watching. And you can see the tax take here. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I will hopefully see you in the next episode.